The stakes couldn't be higher than when a title is on the line. When the opponents are familiar foes, however, it certainly adds to the drama. This is the MMA Opinions Top 10 Championship Rematches in MMA, where we count down our top 10 favourite rematches in title fight. Please subscribe to the channel for content made for fans, by the fans. Hit the bell to be notified when our videos go live. Mauricio Shogun Rua sought to redeem himself at UFC 113 in 2010 after a controversial loss to champion Lyoto Machida at UFC 104 the previous year, with Dana White remarking during the post-fight press conference that Shogun won the fight. Shogun earned redemption in the pair's rematch, stopping Machida with a right hook to the temple, avenging his loss from their first encounter with a stoppage in the very first. In this UFC Hall of Fame rematch, there was no love lost between perennial fan favourite Matt Hughes and his opponent Frank Trigg. The first bout took place at UFC 45 in 2003, with Hughes securing the victory with a first round submission over Trigg. The rematch would take place at UFC 52, with Trigg seeking to even the score against Hughes. Hughes weathered an illegal blow to the groin and a flurry of punches before reversing Trigg, picking him up before slamming him back down and finishing Twinkle Toes with a rear naked choke, to not only claim the victory, but also one of the greatest comebacks in UFC history. Following on from their first encounter at UFC 213 for the interim middleweight belt, in which Whittaker earned a unanimous decision over Yoel, they would meet again at UFC 225, where Romero would miss weight, meaning he would be ineligible to win the title. However, no one seemed to care, as what followed was a 5-round war that won MMA Fighting's 2018 Fight of the Year, with Aussie Whittaker narrowly eking out a split decision victory over the Cuban Romero. Meeting for the first time at UFC 162, Chris Weidman stopped Anderson Silva at 118 of the second round, and in doing so became the UFC middleweight champion. The highly anticipated rematch came at UFC 168 in 2013 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. Despite Silva's best efforts, Weidman took the first round before both fighters squared up again to launch into the second. However, what happened next was the stuff of nightmares. As Silva threw an inside leg kick, it was checked by Weidman, and under the force of his own kick, Silva shattered both his tibia and his fibula. Silva was removed on a stretcher and Chris Weidman retained the middleweight championship. In 2002, Tito Ortiz was locked in a contractual dispute with the UFC, refusing to defend his title. The UFC's solution was to create an interim light heavyweight championship belt and to have Randy Couture drop down a weight class and face Chuck Liddell for the first time at UFC 43. After Couture's remarkable win, Liddell would go on to defeat Tito Ortiz at UFC 47. Following coaching the historic first season of The Ultimate Fighter, Liddell and Couture would face off again at UFC 52, where after a separation due to an eye poke, Couture rushed in and was caught right on the jaw with a straight right hand, stopping him at 206 of the very first round. After losing the title to Michael Chandler via 4th round stoppage in 2011, Eddie Alvarez came hunting once more for gold 2 years later. With Chandler still undefeated at 12-0, the odds were stacked against the Underground King. The fight was one for the ages, as the pair traded close submission attempts and perfect violence, before Alvarez's hand was raised in victory. The decision was split and contested, but above all, the fans were quick to ask for a trilogy bout. Unfortunately, the third bout never came to be after Eddie's controversial move to the UFC. Prior to Aldo's earth-shattering 13-second loss to the Notorious in December 2015, Aldo had been unbeaten in 10 years, with few even posing a legitimate challenge. One such challenger came in the shape of Chad Mendes at UFC 142, almost 4 years previous, with Scarface taking out the Team Alpha male unbeaten prospect inside one round. The rematch would tell a different story, however. At UFC 179, Mendes travelled to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil to once again try and usurp the legendary featherweight king. While Mendes fell short, he proved to be Aldo's toughest test in some time, with many, including Conor McGregor, questioning the decision in favour of Aldo. When Gray Maynard, at 10-0, challenged for the lightweight belt at UFC 125, it was against a familiar foe in the shape of Frankie Edgar. The pair had met 2 years previously, with Maynard grinding out a decision victory. Not many would have predicted the war that ensued in the rematch, with champion Edgar being dropped 3 times in the opening stanza. Despite this, Edgar came back to win 3 of the remaining 4 rounds to earn a draw on the scorecards and retain his belt. The pair met again later that year, with Edgar winning by 4th round TKO to finish off the trilogy with a 1-1-1 record each. Just missing out on the top spot, Brock Lesnar's redemption will be forever remembered. After crossing over from professional wrestling, Brock Lesnar made his debut for the promotion at UFC 81 at just 1-0, his sheer mass only outsized by his fandom. The wrestling sensation lost via first round submission to the former champion Frank Mir. By the time the rematch came around at UFC 100, Lesnar had put 2 wins together, including over the then champion Randy Couture at UFC 91. Defending his title for the first time, Lesnar managed to stop Mir in the second round with a barrage of hammer fists, gaining redemption for his only loss in his MMA career to that point. Taking the top spot in our list was a historic title fight between Robbie Lawler and Rory MacDonald at UFC 189. The pair had previously met at UFC 167, almost 2 years previous, and Robbie picked up a hotly contested split decision win. Ruthless went on to pick up the vacant belt at UFC 181 with a win over Johnny Hendrick. For his first title defence, Lawler would once again face off against the Canadian MacDonald in the fight of the year for 2015. After a back and forth war for 4 rounds, the pair engaged in one of the most iconic stare-downs between the 4th and final round. Busted and bleeding, Lawler pulled off a TKO victory in round 5, cementing him as a legend at 170 pounds. Thank you for watching our Top 10 Championship Rematches. We will be back next week with another Top 10 video. Please like and subscribe.